Oh my gosh, this is smelling really good. I think it's ready. Let me show you how to make this really great minestrone soup. First, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil to the pan so we can saute our onions and garlic. Our pan is already really hot, so I better do that quickly. You can just take a head of garlic, or nowadays they sell the already chopped garlic in those frozen little cubes. This way you don't go around smelling like garlic. That's always fun, but this is like really fresh. I'm just going to add a couple of heads. You chop off the edges. The peel comes off pretty easily, usually. And then you're just going to chop that carefully into little slices. And throw that in there. I'm going to start adding the onion because otherwise all the garlic is going to burn. Two nice big onions. Take my spatula to help me out here. This is one of those high heat resistant spatulas, so you can just stir it in there. Doesn't hurt anything that's non-stick. It's really great. While that's going, I'm going to do my other clove of garlic. Nice neat little slices. Alright, I'm going to let this move a little bit. This flame is on really high, so the onions are already starting to get a little translucent. I'm going to lower that a little bit. And I'm going to chop up some celery. Show you. Now the outer stalks have already been used. So these are the inner stalks, which are closer to the leaves, so they might be a little higher in flavor. Just not as high in color. Now the whole idea of this is that it's just a big chunky soup, so it doesn't really matter if your pieces aren't uniform, if they don't all look the same, if they're not gorgeous, unless you're a perfectionist. But just add that in there. And then you got the carrots. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's big pieces, little pieces. Throw that in there. This is one of those soups that does not get pureed, so don't forget to watch your fingers. Okay, so we got the carrots going in. Now those take a while because they're hard. It was a pretty big carrot too. Now that just has to cook for a little while before I start adding all the liquids. We're going to add some chicken broth, which is optional, because you can always just use a little bit of consomme if you want to keep it parve, and I think you can put some creme fraiche on the top at the end if you want to make it dairy, but today we're going to have it meat. And this happens to have a lot of ingredients. It's just chock full of good stuff. It's nice and healthy. It's really filling. I don't know if I would eat it for dinner necessarily alone. Maybe I would have some crusty bread with it, some garlic bread, something really good, but it's a good lunch. A nice generous bowl of this will keep you full for the rest of the day. All right, here's a cup of chicken broth that I'm going to throw in there. And I'm also going to throw in 2 cups of water. Now it depends on the rest of the proportions that you're going to use for this. If you're using a lot of vegetables, you're going to have to put in a lot more liquid. The zucchini is also going to give off a lot of water. All right, that's just about 2 cups. I'm going to throw that in. Okay. That's going to cook for a little while. See, you don't even hear it anymore. So while it cooks, I'm just going to prep my zucchini, which I'm going to add the tomato sauce before, which gives it this great red, vibrant color that's just gorgeous and it's really appealing. Now the zucchini, some people like it in circles, some people like it in half moons, however you like it. These are kind of big, so I'm going to slice these in half. to add the tomato sauce. You need a big fat can like this, or 2 15-ounce cans should do it. Now this is going to have to cook a while, even before we add the rest of the ingredients, but I'm just going to go ahead and add them now because we have already one prepared that just was smelling really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in our kidney beans, about a can. If you want, you can put in less. If you're not a big bean fan, you can put in any kind of beans. Those little white beans look pretty too. And this is a whole bag of green beans. If you're a big fan of those, that works out well. If not, you can skip it. I've made this recipe so many times. I've skipped some ingredients. I've improvised. Sometimes I do it without the spinach, without the green beans, and it always tastes really good. If you season it well, especially if you use the broth, that's really great. So this is the chopped spinach. I think this is a little bit less than a bag, which is probably less than a pound, but it just adds some really nice color and flavor, and it also kind of makes it a little bit creamy because it's all chopped. Really good. I'm going to add my zucchini, the rest of the chopped zucchini, or sliced. Now, despite the fact that there's already salt in the broth, I would add a lot of, like a generous amount of salt in here. Make sure everything's tasting yummy. And fresh ground pepper, there's no comparison. Delish. That's a lot of pepper, but I like stuff peppery. And we're gonna wait till the very end to add the pasta, because technically the recipe says to cook it first, but it's gonna get cooked plenty. And since it's a huge recipe, you're gonna probably be using it more than once, and you don't want the pasta to get all gross and soggy. So it's great, it freezes really well, and you can just put it into little individual containers, have them for lunch for like 2 weeks, and it'll be really great. So I'm gonna add the zucchini to this. Give it a little stir. Now keep in mind, this is kind of on fast forward, so the vegetables might have cooked down a little bit when you actually do it at home. And you might have added a little bit more liquid, maybe another cup of broth. If you have enough broth, it's better to use more broth than water because it'll be a lot tastier. I'm going to start chopping the basil. I'm not too big on the basil, so just a couple of leaves are going to do it. Now the dried stuff, you're going to have to use a lot less because the flavor's a lot more intense. And as I'll show you with the oregano, when you use dried herbs like this one, just smush it around in your hand with your finger. That'll loosen up whatever's there, and the flavors are going to be a lot more intense. So just a little bit of that. That's even less than a teaspoon. I'm not big on the oregano either, but it still tastes really great. And after this all cooks down, which is going to be really good, you're just going to add the pasta, which I'll do because this is going to cook up anyway. And you can use any kind of pasta. You can use macaroni, whole wheat macaroni, rotini. Rotini's a little big, but it still tastes really good because then you have the pasta, and then it's really filling, and it's a great meal. I'm going to add this kind of pasta. And actually on the back of the box of this pasta is a recipe for minestrone soup. Not as good as this one, of course, but proof that this is an okay pasta to use for the soup. All right, I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to take this to the back burner and just let it go because it's going to need a while. But I'm going to show you the one that I've already prepared. This is good stuff. I'm going to turn off that flame because this has been cooking for a while. I'm going to put that here. Reach for my ladle. Now we have two kinds of bowls here. Here's one big bowl, which is good for, if you're going to eat it for dinner and you're going to have, some crusty bread, some really good stuff with it. Or you can use these little crocks here. These are a little small. I don't know. Maybe I would give that to my 4-year-old nephew or something, but it's not really enough for me. It's not going to cut it. I'm going to put that in there. We actually used some yellow zucchini earlier when we made this batch, and that's really pretty. So you might want to try that. all just beautiful colors and the textures, and oh, this is so good. And it really matches the bowl. It's really cute. Here's that, and I'm going to try to get it in here. I don't know, the ladle seems bigger than the crock, but we'll do our best. There you go. This might be a good appetizer maybe. But that's about it. You can garnish it with some fresh herbs or some croutons. Croutons go with everything. But here is some really great minestrone soup, and I hope you enjoy it.